start doing it.
It's cool.
Here,
So
point
what
up
do
to
you guys
that
want?
stuff above you there.
Huh?
This thing's on the wall. What are those?
There you go, sir. That's for you. You got your sake cup?
He's not drinking.
What's that for?
James,
I
brought
just
an extra one.
brought 5 over there.
Give me that.
You want the one
Mantis.
pretty girl one?
Yes, I do.
Hungar.
Let's go for the pretty girl. And you're having some sake?
James, you want your drink over there with the coaster?
Oh no, I'll be alright. I'm just gonna float.
And tea's on its way. For our man.
Travis at the ramp.
That was one of the scarier smiles I've seen lately.
The guy at the left.
You know, one of the things
Ben.
I wanted to say to you guys was about evolving. And we were talking about, when you talk about God or when you talk about religion, I think a lot of the problems with society today is that we get very stuck in the way that we believe or what we believe in, and we don't evolve from it. So an example of that is I believe, like in philosophy, is always in the search for the truth. It's always searching for the truth. And the problem with non-evolving is that a lot of times you get very popular with what you're doing. So we were talking earlier about when you said that, sometimes it repeats itself, and James is saying how this has got to be very raw, so, like things intersect, and then you say, oh, you got to be careful about what you say at certain points because you may be saying something and you may say something different later on a year goes by or 6 weeks go by. And that's exactly how it should be. And that's why it should be raw. The problem, I think, is that I have a lot of people, but there's one particular friend who's become very cemented in his culture and in his belief system and in his church. So I don't know what he believes in, but he's very well respected in his circles. So he has people that come to him from that organization that and faith that he's in, and asked him questions about, pertaining to what it is that he believes, and also he gets a lot of respect from the people, and they ask him personal advice and this, that, and the other thing. But when I talk to him, he's very confused, and we talked about it, and I said, well, basically, you moved past your belief system. But you don't want to acknowledge that you moved past that belief system, because that belief system is where all your security and everything came from. And now you can't, it's evolved you to a point where you recognize that, oh, I have another level here that I understand, but I can't investigate that level because so many people are used to seeing me in this light. So he stops himself from really moving on, and that's where his unhappiness is. He didn't even realize that. And I said to him, well, you have a decision to make. You can either stay where you are and not evolve past it, or you can face the challenge of what you're really trying to do. And of course, there was no answer to that. I didn't get an answer from him, and I'm sure he went right back to where he was, who he was. And when you think about religion, when you talk about God, when you talk about philosophy, it's always about growing, it's always about changing, it's always about experiencing. It's not being locked into one thing. I remember years and years ago when I first started my school, or started teaching, I started because I thought I was on a mission. And that mission was my spiritual belief at the time. And I thought, this is why I'm doing this, because I need to get this out here, and I need to bring people into this understanding. And it was that level of understanding I came to a decision that it was like a staircase, where I was on that one stair, and then I had my foot halfway onto the other one, and realized that I was leaving the old understanding and coming into a new understanding. And I was at this crossroad, and I had all these students that knew me from the way that I was and why I was teaching, where I was coming from. And I had to face a reality was, this is not what I wanted to teach. This is not the way I wanted to teach. This is not how I wanted to show the art, how I wanted to show myself. I'm moving on from here. So I disbanded the school. You know, I gave everybody a little test. It happened twice before I realized now with the people I'm working with now that, you know, you guys can see I can be pretty rude, I can be this, I can be that. I'm all many, many hats, wear many different hats. Because I don't believe anything should be isolated. And anybody who's on a journey can't say, well, this is the right journey. This is where I'm at. I found the answer. It's like saying, I now have my black belt, I'm ready to go out and teach and make money. You know? And that's the misinterpretation of what the whole belt system is supposed to represent. Traditionally, the belt represented, you know, all you had was a white belt, all you had was a yellow belt, all you had was a green, a brown, and a black. And then when you had to dye each one of those belts. So, you know, you have one belt that you kept dyeing to all these different colors till you got to your black belt. And then when you got to your black belt, you would wear that until it eventually would start to fade back to white, you know, from all the sweat and everything that you were working on. One belt. And then eventually you couldn't even wear that belt anymore. You know, I remember one of the Sifus I was working with had the belt in a, you know, like in a picture frame, you know, and they had the belt in there where you saw fragments of the belt. And I asked him, I said, what is that? He goes, that's my black belt. But he never wore a belt anymore because it just fell off. That's evolving. You know, what that means is that you go through all these different foundations till you get to a point where you become more expressive. And I think it's important that anybody who's really seeking something should not get to the point where they think they know everything. You know, where they become locked into their belief system. You have to constantly grow. And every time you grow, you get onto that next step. You're on rocky ground for a little bit until you start to get an idea of what's going on. You know, and then from there you may think, oh, this is the answer. I finally have the answer to understanding what I'm about, what life is about. But you don't. You know, I don't. And I know that whatever I'm talking about now may change 5 years from now, may change a week from now. And I think that's the whole idea of what Shaolin or what a journey or what the idea of what a belt system is, you know, supposed to represent. It's supposed to represent you have this foundation and then it drops off and now you have experience and understanding, but it doesn't mean that you stop learning. Actually, when you get your black belt, that's really when you start to learn. It's not the end, it's the beginning, you know, and to many different levels of consciousness and understanding and waking up those things inside of you. So I think it's important that people recognize that no matter what you say or who you are, where you are at that time, that no one truly holds the answers. And that you yourself can't cement yourself into one area of thought and say that this is it. That's your comfort zones. And that's when you get into religion and organized structure of different you know, groups and whatnot, and where the safety and the comfort comes from. But a person that's truly on a path is always evolving, you know, is always moving on. So here's to the path.